I don't condone anyone repeating anything in the video. It's not an instructional video. It's just a vlog showing how I'm trying to learn chemistry, how I'm trying to learn this experiment. Ether is flammable. Hydrochloric acid is corrosive to the skin. Don't repeat this. Do it at your own risk if you do. This is John Black, Super Chemist. Here, part 4. Hopefully the last bit part of GRIGNARD reagent. Trying to make some propanoic acid. It's been so long that I made some more ether. So instead of making the salt that you saw in the last video, now if I wanted to make that salt pure, okay, I don't think I got a good yield, and that's another reason why I'm just going with the propanoic acid. But if I wanted to purify that, I would bubble some CO2 in there just to make sure that all the sodium hydroxide had converted into sodium bicarbonate. In the video, sometimes I'm saying the sodium hydroxide will turn into sodium bicarbonate. Sometimes I'm saying it will turn into sodium carbonate. This is the actual thing of it. CO2 and sodium hydroxide does make sodium bicarbonate, but then it will react with the sodium hydroxide that's left to create sodium carbonate. Now, the sodium carbonate can transfer back into sodium bicarbonate from the CO2 from the air. So it's kind of an equilibrium thing. You're always going to have hydroxide ions in water because of self-ionization. So no matter what, there's going to be a little bit of hydroxide, carbonate and bicarbonate. But most of it would be these two things right here. And my guess is that most would be this. So the whole point is that only a minute, small amount is going to be sodium hydroxide. Most of it will be this, and neither one is, this one is insoluble, and this one is only very slightly soluble in ethanol. The way I did it was it just took me a week. By that time, it would have been converted anyway, just from CO2 in the air. Once I did that, though, and I knew it was all converted, I would use ethanol that's anhydrous, okay? Now, the sodium propanoate, it'll go 1 gram per every. So that's how you can get rid of the sodium hydroxide. Just give it time to convert into sodium bicarbonate, or bubble in some carbon dioxide to make it turn into sodium bicarbonate. And then put everything in ethanol, let the sodium propanoate dissolve. Like I said, the impurities won't. You can filter them out and then evaporate off the ethanol to recrystallize your product. And then you'd have pure sodium propanoate. But what we're going to do is different here. Okay, so I took all the salt from the last video. I put it in 200 milliliters of water. Let it dissolve as much as it could. I filtered it. And then I boiled the water off of this so it went down to about 100 milliliters. Although I got sick and let it sit here, now it's down to like maybe 50 milliliters. I don't know. Stuff is starting to precip out. I know that, though. I actually put this in the freezer first. And as you'll see, it crystallized up, so I'm not doing it this time. I wanted to chill this down before I added the acid, but it started crystallizing. I froze it too much. Look at those crystals. I did put the HCl in there in the refrigerator. And we know that 100 milliliters is slightly over a mole, so I want 1/3 of a mole. I'm going to put 30 milliliters of HCl in here. And we also know that it takes 348 milliliters of 10% HCl to have 1 mole, right? So if I divide that by 3, because I only want 1/3 of a mole, that'd be 116 milliliters. So what I'm going to do is add enough water in here so that it's 116 milliliters. Oh, that really heats up. Oh, that really heated up quick. And I'm going to take this 10% HCl and I'm going to pour it into the salt to make the acid come back. I have a stir bar here. We'll just dump that in a little bit at a time. You can see it effervescing because of the sodium carbonate. So you don't want to put it in quick, that's for sure. Especially since most of this is impurity. I didn't get a good yield. You can see that. See that effervescence? Yeah, I did not get a good yield, man. Not at all. Half of my HCl is gone and it's still trying to get rid of the sodium carbonate. Oh, there we go. See, now it's not effervescence. See, I got that much left. I poured some in. It's not bubbling. So it must be turning the sodium propanoic into propanoic acid. So you can see 100 milliliters, I had it down to like 30. So maybe I got a 30% yield. I would be very happy with a 30% yield, especially with all the mistakes I made in the videos. I'm going to let that stir up, and we're going to do a pH test. We want it to be very acidic. Make sure that all the propanoic acid is propanoic acid and not the salt. Oh, yeah, it is acidic. It's very acidic. It's got to be at least a 1, right? Yeah. I don't know if you can see it or not. There's a 1 right there. It's darker than a 1, so you know it's at least 1. That's good. That's all we need. 1 is good. It stinks, so there must be some propanoic acid in there. Now what I'm going to do is I got 66 grams of sodium chloride. Just some kosher salt. I didn't clean it or anything. It's non-iodized. I'm going to toss it in there and let it... Let that stir for a while. The salt should go into the water solution and push the propanoic acid out. Okay? And then we'll use some ether to extract our product. But I'm going to let this stir for a while. But we're going to put it into the set funnel, right? We'll let it stir for like an hour, hour and a half, something like that. I'm going to try and leave the salt, not all the salt, put too much in there again. Actually, maybe I'll put a little bit more water in here, right? See if I can dissolve a little bit more of that. Matter of fact, I'm gonna let that. I'm gonna let this sit and see if I can get some more water to dissolve in there, and then I'll add it to this. All right, so this is gonna start in about 15 minutes. It got most of the salt. Most of the salt. It's good enough. I'll pour that in there. Then I'm going to take 20 milliliters of cold ether. Now this hasn't been dried or anything. The reason why is because I'm going to put it into water. Why dry it? But it has been cleaned somewhat. I have about 120 milliliters in here. If I do 20 milliliters a wash, that's what, 6 washes? If I wasn't lazy, I'd do 8 washes, but 6 that's enough. Alright, I'm going to pour it into here so I can wash this out too, right? Might as well get everything out of there you can. Good. Anyways, you're going to, you know, a lot of venting with that ether. Alright, now I'm going to let this sit for a half hour, and I'm not going to show it, but I'm going to repeat this until all that diethyl ether is gone, right? When this separates, I'm going to take the water out, take the ether out, put it aside, and put the water back in there so I can put some more ether in there. Shake it, let it sit, you know, vent, let it sit for a half hour, and then take the water out, put the ether with the other ether that I had. Right now I have 40 milliliters of ether. Put the water back in, put another 20 milliliters, and keep doing that until I run out. Alright, that's how the diethyl ether washes. So I'm just going to put a little bit of table salt water. It's concentrated. I'm going to dump a little bit in there. Just an arbitrary amount so that I can clean any of the water out of the diethyl ether. And I'll put it in this ice water again. Take the salt water out. That's the bottom layer. The top layer I'm going to put into this flask right here. I'm going to put some cellophane on it and put it in the freezer so I can cool it down before I put the calcium chloride in it, because I think it's exothermic. I'll get back to you when that's out of the freezer. Alright, here it is. I got it cooled down to -4°C. Got 30 grams of calcium chloride. It's anhydrous. Actually, I'll put 10 grams in. No, I'll put 20. 24. Put 24 grams in there. Got a stir bar. I'm going to stir it. And I'll probably get an ice bath on this too so it doesn't, you know, evaporate easily. Probably 20 minutes of stirring, and I'll let it sit for 20 minutes so that I can let all the stuff settle down to the bottom so I can decant it. Okay, we're finally down to the last step. There's my diethyl ether. I decanted it into this distillation apparatus. All I need to do is get rid of the ether. Now what's left is the propanoic acid. Well, there's the pot. You can barely see a little bit of water that's in there. Watch, I'm going to shake it. Get down at the bottom. How there's a millimeter, maybe 2 milliliters tops. I took this pot, the actual pot, up to about 120 degrees. I couldn't get anything to come over. At that point, you know, I was like, well, the rest of this has got to be the acid itself, because I think it boils at 141°C, somewhere around there. Okay, I got about 1.7 milliliters. You can see it's slightly yellow, but it's pretty clear. You know what I mean? It's just got a slight tint to it.